Hello, I'm Toby Fox from 1.5 Million New Homes, the local government challenge, sponsored by Redloft and by Mount Anvil and by Pitman Tozer Architects. Every month I'm visiting a different council to ask them what works and what needs to change to get more homes built. This month I'm in Westminster. So the leader of Westminster City Council, Councillor Adam Hug, has been kind enough to spare some time for 1.5 Million New Homes, the local government challenge. Adam, tell us about where we are today and how you feel about being part of 1.5 Million New Homes.
Delighted to be here in my ward of Westbourne, in the heart of North Westminster, where we have been building new homes like 300 Harrow Road, which is a great new mixed-use development combining 100% affordable homes with a new nursery, community workspace and a cafe that will be opening later this summer.
And how many homes in total?
We've got 113 new homes here, 77 of which are council homes for social rent, other homes for key workers. We've got a community workspace, cafe and nursery in the scheme. So there's clear benefits for the local community from this redevelopment. This was a scheme that was started in the previous administration, but one of the things the design team did, even at that stage, was talk to the local community about what they wanted from the site. When we came in as administration, we looked at the site again, looked at how we could actually improve the local benefit. So we've now got a not-for-profit nursery in there rather than a fully private one, and we've got a significant number more affordable homes in here, going from 50 to 100%. So that's clearly got local buy-in and helped assuage some of the challenges we've had with the neighbours in the immediate vicinity, because obviously we need new homes desperately. In constrained sites like in the middle of cities like Westminster, there can be challenges around the amount of piling involved, disrupting people's lives in the blocks immediately behind. But we've got to take people on that journey, because we've got enormous challenges in terms of overcrowding, people in temporary accommodation, and we want new homes to help change people's life chances, really give them those opportunities to thrive here in our communities, and that's why the council's got to play its part in building.
I hear what you're saying about the need, but going from 50% to 100% affordable, that's a big financial decision, that's a big investment by the council. How do you politically frame spending that much money on new homes?
So we were able to make that work because of the schemes that we had in play at this particular time. We recognise that we're not going to be able to hit 100% affordable on all of our schemes, but the key point is making sure that whatever we do, that challenge of the housing need is front and centre of what we're trying to do, and that we can explain that's why we're doing it for people, even if it's mixed development with private and affordable in the same scheme, and that affordable genuinely means affordable for people like them. Tackling the housing waiting list, as well as providing new homes for key workers. And I think it's taking people on that journey is so important.
So the fundamental argument is, if we're going to spend money on anything, we should be spending it on providing more affordable and more social homes for the people who need them.
In terms of council and government expenditure, that's absolutely key. But we recognise across the country we need more homes of all types and tenures to change the housing market. We want a functioning private rented system that doesn't have spiralling rents each time, which is why you do need more supply in that part of the market, looking at build-to-rent schemes and other things that can help tackle that. Councils, obviously, the priority is tackling extreme housing need, which is why we're focused on increasing the amount of social and truly affordable homes after decades of underinvestment. But there's a part to play by all parts of the market. But it's got to be clear that it's in the public interest and that those homes are going to be used for permanent residential use, which is a big challenge we have in Westminster.
And I don't mean to bang on and on about the money, but it is so fundamental nationally as well as locally here in Westminster. We're talking about an investment in this single scheme of something like £60 million?
Absolutely, but it is an investment in the future of this community. The money saved is not only in improving life chances of the people who live there, but the amount of money the council will be spending on temporary accommodation, all sorts of other things that cost us year on year. And this is an investment in the future of this city. So we're delighted to be able to have made it. But we recognise that councils are facing real challenges in terms of their finances, which is why there needs to be effective partnership between local government and national government to help unblock a lot of sites that are stalled around the country that councils want to build. They want to be given the investment to build, and that's why we're looking forward to the spending review with clarity on future grant rates.
So Adam, you talked about how close these buildings are to each other. During construction, that's a real problem for residents, and all they see is noise and disruption and so on. So how do you bring people on this journey of change with you? How do you convince them that it's worth their while?
So it's not without its challenges. I think what helps is talking to people as early as possible up front, trying to work through with them how they know how their space is used and how a construction management plan can be as respectful of that as possible. It's having a good relationship between both the council and the on-site developers during the build phase, so that when residents see there's a problem, they can raise that and get their concerns addressed as quickly as possible. And it's about being respectful about site management times when they say, you have particular hours that you're going to be on site, you're not starting sort of, going all through the middle of the night without giving them any advance warning. So it's being respectful of people while you're doing it, but also taking people on that journey so they understand why you're doing this, that it's ultimately for the community and for them and people like them, rather than for other people that sort of being implanted into their communities, which is sometimes the fear of developments like this.
And I'm right in thinking that the people who were in the original blocks were given, had to face the disruption, were given sort of first dibs.
Absolutely.
On
So
the
the local lettings plan is absolutely key to schemes like this. The reality is that the vast majority of these flats were taken by people who are living in just a couple of blocks, who are immediately around here, who've been on the housing waiting list for many, many years, whether overcrowding or in temporary accommodation flats there. So there's been some real challenges that this has helped unlock. Obviously, there's more demand. We were not able to help everyone. And that can create some tensions if you're seeing this thing happen and you're just the other side of the line. But people know that it is people in their community who are benefiting from it, rather than it being sort of a pure implant. But it's trying to make sure that these schemes meet community needs, which is why having community benefit on the ground floor, residence hall, nursery, managed workspace and a new cafe are all things that are going to help improve people's lives in the community and taking people on that journey so they understand what's coming, and being able to show people where it's worked really well. We'll take people from elsewhere in the city to come and see this scheme, just as we're doing the same down at Ebury Bridge in the south, to show this is what it could look like. We know it's going to be tough for a couple of years, but work with us, and hopefully you'll see the long-term benefits.
And it's not that easy to get new homes built in this part of London, is it? Because there are lots of competing land pressures, like requirements for the land. So how are you dealing with that challenge?
Well, so that's why making the most of council and other publicly owned land in a place like Westminster is so crucial, because we have real pressures on land where, particularly in the centre of town, there is demand to build, but it's demand to build offices. And that means that the amount of space that's available to tackle the housing challenge is constrained, whilst that commercial demand is still red hot for new office developments, which is why we're working with not only council land, but with other public sector partners like TfL and Network Rail to look at what opportunities there are to unlock sites in Westminster that could really meet the public benefit. But it's also, we're looking again at what our planning system can do to nudge the market to make sure that housing is part of the mix when they're looking at new sites through mixed use, which is obviously where we want to encourage new developers of commercial sites to be looking at, so that there is a mix of housing and business use.
And what sort of reception are you getting to that argument from the development industry?
Well, we're getting, engagement. Obviously people have their own plans for their own sites, and obviously they're looking at their pipelines and their pressures. And I think obviously we want to try and give as much clarity as possible in the planning system through the evolution of our city plan that can help give business the stability that they need in order to plan for the future. But it's also making sure they understand our ambitions as well as we understand their ambitions. That's crucial.
When you took charge as an administration, this is the first Labour administration in Westminster, you had to hit the ground running. So you've got to deliver at pace. And of course, the government nationally is trying to do the same thing, trying to deliver 1.5 million new homes during this administration. What lessons have you learned about pace of delivery that are useful nationally, do you think?
So we're looking at how we can maximise the opportunities on the sites that we had. So when we came in, we looked at what was potentially in the pipeline, what was on the drawing board but hadn't been fleshed out, looked at what we could deliver at pace, and we've been able to add extra 330 new affordable homes into our pipeline as a result of that exercise. But it is about maximising deliverable opportunities. So we looked at what the pathway was for the most pragmatically deliverable schemes and got on with those. And there are some challenges. Obviously, as we look ahead to the new funding settlement, we'll see if new grant rates enable other sites to be unlocked. But in a place like Westminster, it's obviously high cost, high reward investments that can unlock housing sites like this, which is a different challenge to other parts of London or other parts of the country. But we've got a horses for courses approach, but you've got to work with local authorities so that we have a shared ambition to get the homes of all types and tenures that we need. But it's about taking communities with us and engaging as early as possible to work out some of the kinks. And even if people are still worried or concerned about a scheme, they know that they've been heard and that their concerns will be taken on board as much as possible while still meeting those strategic objectives, both for a local authority and for the government.
And what sort of reception do you think you're getting from local residents across Westminster for your housing delivery? How important is it politically to this administration to be delivering those homes, and how much capital are you getting, political capital are you getting from it?
So our residents expect us to be doing this. Obviously, we have to explain to them some of the practical challenges about, we can't just magic a new pipeline of homes overnight, particularly given the market conditions. But we're working on a new scheme just down the road at 291 Harrow Road, where we'll be bringing forward more council homes, new adult social care facilities and more community space as well. And we're working with those residents. They're not all on board with some of the height and massing of the scheme, but they recognise what we're trying to do as a local authority. And because we got in there early and had those constructive engagements, they understand what we're trying to do. And obviously we'll be moving forward with that in the weeks and months ahead. So it's early engagement and understanding the strategic objectives we're doing. And most people are on board with that, even if they may have gripes around the edges.
And so you talked about a new scheme coming forward. How ambitious are you? What can we expect to see in the next during the rest of your administration?
So obviously we will be making some announcements later this summer about the next phase of our plans. But we've got schemes that are already moving forward across the city. We've got 291 Harrow Road. We've got Church Street Site A, where we're maximising the opportunities of things that have been long in the gestation, but have taken time to actually get them to be delivered. And we've been pushing forward to make sure that long talked about plans are actually delivered before we move to the next phase of some exciting but challenging opportunities that we're dealing with over the coming months.
Councillor Adam Hug, leader of Westminster City Council, thank you very much for your contribution to 1.5 million new homes.
Thank you very much.
And that just about wraps it up for another episode of 1.5 million new homes, the local government challenge, sponsored by Redloft, by Mount Anvil and by Pitman Tozer Architects. We're going to be back in a few days with more from Westminster, but until then, if you could hit like and subscribe, we'd be really grateful. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for watching.